Oh, I love the Robin Hood story. It's fantastic. It really is. Robin Hood. What did Robin Hood do? He stole from the rich and gave it to the poor. That's how the story goes. Oh, Robin Hood. Socialist Marxist, really. Robin? Mao Hood. Yes. Let's look at the players involved. Our hero is Robin Hood, and then there's also Friar Tuck. Friar Tuck. He was a monk. He was an outlaw too. Yeah, but he was part of the church. And then there's the sheriff and the king. I don't know why I don't have those. But basically, there's the king and then there's the sheriff. Okay. Well, the way it's been spun now, it's socialist Marxist story. The rich are bad. They're the enemy. But that's not the story at all. I think we need to remember the real story and correct it in our own heads, because there's one enemy out there that man has been battling over and over and over again, and you need to meet him next. I want to tell you the story about Robin Hood because I think we miss the point of Robin Hood too many times. It's steal from the rich and give to the poor. It's a socialist story. No, it's not. Robin Hood was with the king. Friar Tuck was with the bishop. They were fine until the king started going after all of the poor people, the good guys, going after the poor people who didn't have any potatoes to eat, and they would take it. Why? They would take it so the king could have it, the church could have it, the sheriff could have it, and his elites, the people in his court. They were taking from the good guys. They weren't taking from the rich. Robin Hood was stealing what they had stolen. The king had stolen this. He was taking it back and giving it back to the poor. He crossed the line. This guy rejected what the church was doing. He was on the team. And then there were the regular people. Now let me show you. The king is our progressive president. The bishop is the one that is co-opting the church for the king, Jim Wallace. The sheriff is the head of the IRS, Timothy Geithner. Who are the elites? I mean, you could put 1 billion people up here, but Al Gore, he's just trying to help the planet. That's all he's trying to do. That's all he's... George Soros, he's just... I don't know what he's evil. Well, I'm just trying to help tell you that it's all unsustainable and we got to raise taxes. And here's some more elites. Okay? They're taking from you. You can't afford it. They're taking it from you and giving it under the guise of giving it to the poor to their elites. That's what's happening. Hello? They risked everything to fight against their own king and the Sheriff of Nottingham. King George. King George, remember, the same country from the Robin Hood story that our founders fought against, with essentially the same treatment of the colonists here in America. This story repeats itself over and over and over again. People get power, they oppress people, they take their wealth, they give it to their friends. The Brits eventually came up with the idea of the Magna Carta to keep the King John's of the world in check. In America, we took the Magna Carta and we expanded those rights. We said there are certain inalienable rights that we all have. We're each given by our Creator. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They were developed and put right into the Constitution. These guys are trying to make themselves look like these guys. They're not. Don't confuse them. Tell your kids a bedtime story tonight. Make sure they understand the real story of Robin Hood, because I have a feeling that might play a role in their life at some point. Back in a minute.
The Overton Window, a thriller by Glenn Beck. Coming June 15th.
It's for Father's Day. I have to tell you, I've been writing that for almost 3 years now, and it is just over 2 years, I think. It is, we had to change it because it's coming true. It's a theory, the Overton Window, that we have to explain to you. It's the answer to what they've been doing. The Overton Window. It's incredible. And I hope that this time, because we've had to change it several times because things kept happening, this time I hope the ending stays fiction. All right, earlier I showed you this chalkboard. Restore blank and restore our country. Is it liquidity, energy, regulation, spending, the banking system? Does that feel right to you? Or restore families and restore our country. Restore the Constitution. Restore common sense. Restore history and restore our country. Restore God and restore our country. Okay? We can A, B all day and compare. And when you do, something just feels right about what these guys said and what these guys did. Adams, Jefferson, Washington, and Franklin. Let me pit them. Let's put them back, right, side by side. The founders to the transformers. First, here's Joe Biden.
We're going to go bankrupt as a nation. Now, people say, when I say that, people look at me and say, what are you talking about, Joe? You're telling me we got to go spend money to keep from going bankrupt? The answer, yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, let me start with Alexander Hamilton, okay? Here's a modern interpretation of what he was saying. Do we have it up on the screen here? If you allow government not to pay its debt, you overthrow all public morality and you unhinge all the principles that preserve the limits of a free constitution. I mean, have we not overthrown all public morality? Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares. Tell me the people who are standing in line who are embarrassed to get the handout. Here's Christina Romer. She is the chair of Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. She said, quote, "It would be wrong to tighten fiscal policy immediately, as that would nip the nascent economic recovery in the bud." How about we put her up against George Washington? We should shun occasions of expense and use vigorous exertions to discharge debt. I think I'm going to go with that one. House Majority Whip James Clyburn. Here's what he said.
To save our way out of this recession, we've got to spend our way out of this recession. And I think most economists know that.
Thomas Jefferson didn't know that. No, he didn't know that. He said this: frugality is among the highest of government virtues, and public debt is the greatest of its dangers to be feared. Debt. Debt. What are we doing, guys? They're not going to solve any of these problems because they really believe this stuff. And in some ways, it's true. And when it comes crashing down, it's going to be ugly. And then they'll say, see, well, Glenn Beck said... I'm telling you right now, it's ugly. What's coming our way is ugly. It'll be worse. It will be point of no return, I fear, if we just keep spending. But you know what? You don't have to worry about what they're doing. You worry about what you're doing. You make sure that you are good. You make sure that your neighbors are good. You make sure you know what's true and what's not true. Don't put yourself in a position to be anybody's slave. Don't put yourself in a position to where you must have them. You must have the handout. Don't do it. I really, truly believe that the survival of our Constitution in the long run, the survival of our way of life in the long run, there ain't anybody that's going to be running to our aid. We are going to have to do it ourselves. I don't know if it's going to come down to us or it's going to come down to our children. But we just better know what we need to know. We better know what's true and what's not. Back in a minute. On tomorrow's program, the road to serfdom. It's a warning from the past about our possible future. It's a book that said socialism, communism, fascism, all the same. It's a book that was all the rage here in America in the 1940s. I picked it up, and I mean, it's one of those things that will open your eyes and you'll go, oh my gosh, total government leads to the loss of freedom, the road to serfdom. Don't miss it tomorrow. From New York, good night, America.